So, basically, I'm starting a new project on reviewing books online, doing online book reviews. I'm currently taking an MA in creative writing at Bath University, and one of the modules we have to take is a context module, and for that we have to read a novel every week, at least. So I have a lot of reading to do, and so I read about 4 books every month, and I thought it'd be a cool idea to share what I thought with the reading community, and I'd also love to hear your experiences as well. So the last book I read was White Noise by Dellilo, and it's about a man afraid of death. I found the book very accessible in terms of the way it's written is sometimes quite poetic, and it's very introspective, I suppose. It's very much about the inside world of Jack, the main character, and how his world is. This might seem like a very shallow comment to make, but I really like short chapters, and they start off very short, like 2 or 3 pages, and it's almost seems backwards because I find the more bite-sized the chapters are, the more I read in one go. So I really like that about the book, and you get into it very easy. And the context module I'm actually taking is writing in the environment. So all the books I will be reviewing for the next few weeks will be related to that theme. So the main event, the book is divided into 3 parts. First part's called Waves and Radiation. I can't remember what the last part's called, but the middle part is called the Airborne Toxic Event, and that's essentially the main action in the book, because the rest of it's quite almost philosophical, just sort of mundane, and I did think of talking about it sort of theoretically, like we read the book and we talk about it in class, and a lot of things came up that I didn't necessarily draw from it the first time around, but I kind of want these reviews to be accessible, and I didn't do English literature, I did creative writing, so it's not necessarily, delving into what the author means all the time and stuff. It's more, I'm going to do this from sort of a writing perspective rather than a critical perspective. So in our class we talked about postmodernism, and yes, that's true, I suppose. I mean that is true in the way it's, but for me it's not really important. I mean, I'll mention it, but it's not important. I'm going to talk about it more from a reader's perspective, maybe sort of a writing reading perspective. So yeah, as I say, it's very easy to read. It's quite a famous book, I believe. It was written in around 1984, I think. So I remember being surprised about that, because it seems, it feels like it could have been written today. So I felt it did have a slightly futuristic point of view, and I suppose the Airborne Toxic Event is, of course, to do with climate change and that sort of thing. So as part of the course, we have to read it in a week. I worked out that for a 400-page book, I normally read about 57 pages a day. And if it's a book I really enjoy, 57 pages is fairly easy. I'd say it's probably 45 minutes or an hour for me, personally, as a reader, whilst other people may be a lot quicker than me. But as I say, you know, for a book I enjoyed, that's sort of good. You know, I can devour a book quite quickly if I'm enjoying it. Otherwise, it can take me a bit longer. So yeah. So as a whole, I'd say I enjoyed some of the language. It's very poetic and I think I said sort of philosophical. I often read before bed or in bed, as I'm in bed now, because it's really warm. It's my favourite place in the world. I forgot what to say. So, yeah. So, and it's about basically. I don't think I've even said what it's about yet. Jack is afraid of death. That is the central sort of theme of the book. He becomes afraid of death, and it's something. It's a very interesting subject because it's just such, you know, death's a part of life and it's the only certainty in life, and so it's such a huge issue, and yet we don't, you know, thinking about our own mortalities is something that I personally don't often read about, so it's very interesting, but of course when I'm about to go to sleep I find it quite unsettling as well. So I don't want to do any spoiling of the ending or anything like that. All I'd say is I found the ending slightly unsatisfactory. I didn't really like the ending. But perhaps it had to be that way. I won't go into it, but yeah. So yeah, death is an interesting subject because it affects us all. Literally ourselves and the people around us. And it's something as a young person, I think when I was younger I was quite afraid of it, but now I'm finding it, sometimes if I really think about it, I do get kind of, I'm scared. I wouldn't say that I've got to the point where I'm completely, you know, accepting of death, that's going to happen, but at the same time, if you live forever, it would take the sanctity of life away, I believe. Anyway, that's going off topic. So yeah, it's in terms of my course and the focus on the environment, it very much makes us aware of what could or will eventually happen in our lifetime or our children's lifetime, you know, in this case, in the form of a toxic event. And it's certainly unsettling in that way. My favourite bit is that when they are evacuating the city, there's like a policeman with a megaphone going around with neighbourhoods saying, "You need to evacuate immediately." And because Jack's a lecturer, he's like, you know, on television you never see a middle class lecturer, you know, rowing down the river floods of his neighbourhood. You just don't see it. So you know, I can't see that needs to happen. You know, this is a middle class area. We don't need to evacuate. So that's quite funny. But anyway, would I recommend it? Yes, I would recommend it. It's an interesting read, and I feel, although it can be mundane at times, you know, sometimes I like introspective novels. I think it was a bit too mundane or too like sort of a internal monologue almost. You know, the same things seem to happen. So at times I find it a little tedious, a little dull. But I appreciate it more after I read it, I think, and when I was looking back and thinking about what things it touched on and the different themes. So, yes, that was a good book. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my review, and I'd love to hear your comments.